kaibigan. Hello friends, my name is Ms. Hester and I'm so glad that you're joining me to visit our last country for the summer for our Reading Around the World programs. And we are going to visit the Philippines, which is a country that's very near and dear to my heart because I lived there for many years. So I know where the Philippines is, but maybe you don't. So let me grab our globe here and take a look and see if we can find the Philippines. So first we're going to start off by finding where we are. Okay, so we are in the United States on the continent of North America. But if you spin our globe and go all the way around to the opposite side of the world, you can see in the Pacific Ocean, kind of in between China and Australia, which you've already visited hopefully with us, you'll find the Philippines, and that's in Southeast Asia. And I'm going to show you a map of the Philippines, what it looks like. Okay. So as you can see, the Philippines has a lot of islands. Okay, so from the bottom all the way up here, there's lots and lots of islands. In fact, there's over 7,000 islands in the Philippines. Not all of them are occupied with people living on them or have inhabitants, but there are a lot to visit. And there are actually three main island groupings. So in the south, we have Mindanao. In the middle, we have the Visayas. And in the north, we have what's called Luzon. And that's where the capital city, Manila, is located, on Luzon. And whenever we looked at the map when I was a child growing up, they told us that it looked like a donkey head. Can you see that in the image here? So down here you have the neck of the donkey, you have the nose or the muzzle in this section here, and then sticking up here in Luzon is the ear of the donkey. That's kind of fun to look at different country outlines and see what shapes and animals and other things you can see. So that's the Philippines. And if you have registered for our program, you can pick up a packet. And I'm just going to go through some of the contents with you to let you know what to expect when you pick that up, either at the drive-up window or inside at our children's desk. So there's just sort of an overview with some information to help you learn a little bit more about what the Philippines is all about, what the people look like, the kind of languages they have. Because the Philippines has so many islands, it has a lot of different cultural people groups. And they speak a lot of different languages as well. Now, the official language is called Filipino, which is based on Tagalog. And then they also have English as an official language too. So they do learn English in their schools oftentimes. So you can take a look at different foods, at some of the different animals that are featured there. But take a look. And also there are some suggested ideas for virtual field trips, some websites you can check out to learn more about the Philippines and see some neat and interesting pictures of the country. Okay. And then you'll also have a smaller sheet of paper, which gives kind of an overview of the different crafts that we will do. So the crafts here are a jeepney, the sipa craft or a game, and a Philippine flag. And I'll show you how to do those at the end of this video. But let's go ahead and read a story about a Filipina girl, and her name is Cora. And it's called Cora Cooks Pancit. And it's written by Dorina Lazo Gilmore, illustrated by Kristi Valiant. And it's a Shen's book. Cora loved the kitchen. She loved to drink in the smells of Mama's Filipino dishes. Cora's older sisters and brother often helped with the cooking. They got the grown-up jobs like shredding the chicken or mixing noodles in the pot. They sliced vegetables and rolled lumpia into tiny egg roll shapes. Cora was stuck with kid jobs like drawing pictures in the flour or licking spoons. She longed to be a real cook. One day, Cora's three older sisters headed to the mall. Her brother darted outside with his ball glove. Now was her chance. Cora popped her head around the corner. "What are we making today, Mama?" Mama wiped her hands on the front of her red apron. She put her hands on her hips. "What would you like to make today?" asked Mama in her buttery voice. Cora was surprised Mama was letting her decide. She scrunched up her pug nose and began to think. All her favorite Filipino foods danced in her head. Lines of lumpia pranced in rows. Adobo chicken legs bebopped in time. She saw a large bowl of pancit. The thick noodles and vegetables curled and swirled in a dance party. Mmm. Will you teach me to make pancit? She asked. Of course, said Mama. Would you like to wear my red apron? Cora was a real cook now. The apron was a little too big, but it would do. Mama helped Cora tie the strings around her back and make a neat bow at her belly button. This apron belonged to Lolo, your grandpa, said Mama. He wore it when he first came to California. He was a cook for the Filipino farm workers who picked strawberries and grapes in the fields. Did Lolo teach you how to cook? Cora wanted to know. He did, said Mama. I followed him each day to the big kitchen. He created all kinds of dishes to fill the hungry workers' tummies. While he cooked, he told stories about the Philippines where he was born. Cora nodded as she listened. Lolo told us about the countryside where he grew up. His family harvested pineapples, bananas, and papayas. He used to eat smashed fried bananas and sweet rice wrapped in banana leaves. Cora stuffed her hands in the deep apron pockets. She imagined Mama and Lolo cooking together. She saw Lolo as a boy unwrapping the banana leaves and scooping the sweet rice from inside. Cora knew the rules in Mama's kitchen. She scrubbed her hands with soap. Mama dug in the cupboards and refrigerator for ingredients. She listed what they would need for the pancit: chicken, celery, carrots, mushrooms, onions, baby corn, cabbage, ginger, garlic, soy sauce. Don't forget the noodles, said Cora. Oh yes, the noodles, said Mama. Let's get started, Mama told Cora. Open the package of rice noodles and put them in this bowl of water. Do you know why we soak them? So they get soft, answered Cora. You've been paying attention, said Mama with a wink. Cora opened the package. She plopped the big clump of noodles into the bowl. Meanwhile, Mama took out some chicken she had cooked earlier. This was Mama's special stash. She used chicken for all kinds of Filipino dishes like tanghon, chicken curry, and lumpia. Want to help me shred? Asked Mama. Cora's eyes grew wide. A grown-up job. She was ready. She pulled the chicken pieces apart the way her older sister Prim did. She placed them on a plate. Cora snuck a tiny bite of chicken. She rolled it to the back of her mouth before Mama noticed. The salty taste tickled her tongue. I'll chop, said Mama. Cora arranged the vegetables in neat rows. Mama chopped celery stalks, carrots, cabbage, and onions. When Mama started slicing onions, tears ran down Cora's cheeks. She looked up and saw Mama's watery eyes. Onions make us cry, sang Mama. They both laughed. Mama took out her huge pancit pan with a shiny copper outside and big handles. The pan was deep enough to hold all the ingredients. Cora danced on her tiptoes to see inside. Mama asked Cora to step back while she added some oil and the vegetables to the pan. The pot began to hiss and sizzle. Mama added spices too, garlic, ginger, and a splash of soy sauce. Cora loved the smell of garlic. Can you check the noodles, Cora? Asked Mama. Cora scratched her head. She tried to remember what her sister Sarah did when she checked the noodles. Cora thought she should sniff the noodles, but she picked the bowl up too quickly. Water sloshed onto the floor. Are you making a mess? Asked Mama with pointy eyebrows. Silly Cora. You just need to touch the noodles with 2 fingers to see if they are soft. Mama laughed and handed Cora a towel to mop up the mess. Mama went to work straining the noodles. Straining means you pour the water out so that it's no longer in the noodles. Now for the fun part, said Mama. Let's add the noodles to the pancit pan. Can I stir? Asked Cora. She knew this was another grown-up job. Yes, but be careful near the burner, called Mama, who pulled out a stool for Cora to stand on. Cora began to stir in a wide circle. She watched the noodles somersault over the carrots and celery. She made the soft onions sway this way and that. The smell of ginger mixing with garlic floated to her nose. A few mushrooms escaped from the pot. Oops! That night, Mama brought the food to the table. She set out a platter of adobo chicken, 2 plates of her special lumpia with dipping sauce, and a bowl of pineapple slices. Cora's brother and sisters came to the table one by one. Daddy sat in his usual spot at the head of the table. Cora watched his eyes grow wide as he checked out all the food. He licked his lips. Finally, Mama set the steaming platter of pancit in the middle of the table. You made pancit without us? Hollered Cora's brother Crispin. Who did my job? Asked Prim. Who checked the noodles? Sarah needed to know. Mama replied, Cora did all the grown-up jobs. Really? Said Daddy. That's my girl. Cora scrunched together her eyebrows and bit her lip while the family tasted her pancit. Did she do everything right? Would they like it? Would Mama tell about the accident with the noodles? Pretty impressive, smiled Cora's sister Irene. Crispin chomped on a big spoonful of pancit and elbowed Cora. Not too bad, Crispin said. Cora grinned. Her eyes sparkled with delight. Daddy sat back in his chair. This tastes like your Lolo's pancit, he said. Cora beamed with pride. Salamat, she cried out. Thank you. The family laughed. Cora was still wearing Mama's red apron. All right, and then at the back, there's a glossary of some different words, like Lolo means grandpa, and a picture of Cora as well. And if you check this book out, you'll have to request it from an outside library, but there is a recipe for Lolo's pancit, or you can look it up online. Just type in Pancit with the help of an adult, and there's a whole bunch of different varieties of pancit, which is a noodle dish that's very popular in the Philippines. So I hope you enjoyed our story. Let me go ahead and go through our packets now so that you can do the crafts that are included there. So the first one we have is a jeepney. And if you want to take a look at my little toy jeepney, I brought this along from home. As you can see, it looks kind of like a small miniature bus, and it's very brightly colored, has a lot of decorations. So in your packet, you'll get a cardstock jeepney that you can color, and you'll want to use bright colors and make it nice and colorful and bright. And then you're going to cut it out. So you might need the help of an adult for some of the tighter corners, but do your best and cut it out, and then you can actually fold it up. And the end result is going to look something like this, where you have something on the top here, you have a small piece on the bottom glued together, and it's all nicely colored. And then inside your packet as well, you'll find some different gems that you can use to decorate, because jeepneys are always completely decorated. They have little horses on the top, sometimes on the front. They have all kinds of different paintings and drawings. So you can use stickers and gems that are included in the packet to put the finishing touches on yours. I also wrote the name of a city, Manila, that's the capital city, but you can put any city or any place that you want, because they usually drive through the city on a specific route. And that's what tells the people who get on and who use the public transportation where that jeepney is going to be going. Okay. And then we also have all of the parts and pieces for a little hanging Filipino flag. So you can see we have some of the same colors as the American flag. You have the red, the white, and the blue. Okay. And normally it would kind of stand like this when it's on the flagpole. You have a white triangle over here with 3 yellow stars and a yellow sun in the center, and then blue and red. You want to make sure that your red doesn't go on top, because that means that the country is at war. That's when they fly the flag with the red on top. Normally you'll see it with the blue right on the top there. And so you'll start with a white piece of paper, and you're going to roll it up into a tube. And then you can use glue or tape to kind of hold it in place. I'm going to go ahead and tape mine, just to make it a little bit faster. If you're gluing, you'll need to wait a little bit longer before you cut and do other things, because you want to make sure it holds in place. Okay, and then we're going to make the triangle part just by kind of lightly pressing down at the bottom. And then you're going to make one cut up. Let's see how we did that here. One cut down like that. Had to think about it for a second, so that it makes a point, and then from that point you're going to go up this way as well, so that it looks like that, where it comes down to a point. Okay, and then from there, included in the packet are your sun and stars. And again, if you need some help with some of those closer angles, you can ask an older brother or sister, or just try your very best. There's 3 stars, and there's the sun, and then you're going to place them on the white circle with some glue or tape. The 3 stars go 2 up at the top here, and 1 down at the bottom with the sun in the middle. So just so you remember what it looks like, just like that. And actually the 3 stars stand for the 3 island groupings, and the sun stands for some of the different provinces in the Philippines that rebelled against Spain. They stood up for themselves against Spanish occupation, because Spain controlled the islands for many years, and they wanted independence. So those were the first 8 provinces to stand up against Spain. And then we also have, of course, our streamers to make it a little bit more fun. Okay, and I just included 1 long blue and 1 long red. So it's up to you how you want to cut them. I actually cut mine in half once, and then cut them in half this way as well, but it's really up to you how many you want to make out of what I've included. You can make them thicker, you can make them thinner. And then you're going to just glue them to the bottom so that it hangs. Okay, and there is a string. I think I included blue or black for you to hang. You can just punch some holes or use a pencil if you don't have a hole punch, and then you can hang it up and it'll blow in the breeze, and you can enjoy thinking about the country of the Philippines. And then our last craft is going to be how to make sipa. So for our final craft, we'll do the game of sipa, which means kicking. So it's a kicking game. If you've ever seen anyone play hacky sack, it's kind of a similar idea, but you can make your very own. You'll start with the washer that's in your bag. It's just a real small piece of metal with a hole in it. And then you'll want to grab 3 pieces of yarn, and they're the same colors of the Philippine flag. Some of the colors there, red, blue, and yellow. And you're going to measure out about 4 inches. Okay. And then when you find 4 inches, you're going to give it a little snip, because you're going to need a lot of different pieces of yarn, some smaller pieces, and I'll let you do the measuring and cutting, and then I'll show you how to put it together. So you're going to do that with the yellow, blue, and red yarn so that you have some smaller pieces, just like that. And then what you're going to do is thread your yarn through the middle of the washer, and then you're going to tie it. And again, if you need some help from a grown-up, great. If not, you can do it on your own. Okay, and you're just going to make one quick tie there. Okay, so that it kind of sticks up. And I did mine so that all the yellow were near one another. I'll put another one in there and tie that one off. And there should be enough yarn to cover your entire washer with all these different colors. Okay, tie that one off as well, and then I'm going to scooch them over so that they're kind of close together, just like that. And that way I can fill the entire washer with the yellow, red, and blue yarn. When I'm totally finished using up all the yarn that I have there, I do have one extra piece of yellow yarn, and you're going to bundle up all of the yarn fray that you have at the end there, and you're going to just wrap this one around it and tie it off to kind of hold it together in place. And then that way, this bottom part, the washer part, is what you're going to hit with your foot or with your knee. And if you're not that skilled with your foot or knee, that's okay. You can just use your hand, and you can kind of pass it back and forth, hitting it back and forth, and it's kind of weighted. So it's a fun game, something that a lot of Filipino children play. Sometimes they'll even use things that they might find, like a peso coin. The peso is, they don't use dollars in the Philippines, they use pesos. And there's a coin that they might just wrap in like a chippy bag or like an old wrapper, and then kind of cut the top to make it frayed, tie it off. And they reuse a lot of things that they have just lying around the house. So that's another option for you as well. But that's a fun one. The rules are basically you're trying to keep it up off the ground. Again, it's up to you how you want to designate the rules. If you only want to use your feet and knees, if you don't want to use your hands, that's fine. But if you want to just try it and have fun playing, you can decide for yourself what types of rules you want to follow. And then the last piece that I have for you is actually a language learning game. So in the Philippines, they speak a lot of different languages. Over 100 different languages are represented there. But the one that I learned when I lived there was Tagalog. And so I'm going to show you just a simple language learning game that you can play with friends at home or with family. So it's called concentration. So what you do is you're going to make a beat, put your hands down, then together, and then one snap on this side and another snap on that side. And if you can't snap, that's okay. You can just put your hand to one side and the other. And we'll practice with some Tagalog numbers, which are listed in your paper as well. So the first, number 1 in Tagalog, is isa. Can you say it? Isa, okay? And then the second number 2, is dalawa, okay? So you're gonna assign a number to each of the people that's playing a Tagalog number, and you can learn those. You can find those on your packet. So the first person would be isa, and then the next person would be dalawa. And I'll go ahead and clap to them. And I'll say isa, because that's my number. And then I'm going to send it to someone else who would be dalawa. And I'd say that on the second snap. So then the person who's dalawa would get to go. And they would go down together, and they would say their number, which would be dalawa. And then they'd send it to another number of someone else who's playing. They might send it back to isa, or they might send it to lima, which is number 5. So it depends on how many people are playing, and you're going to send it back and forth. So let's try it out. So down, together, isa, dalawa. Down, together. Now dalawa, the person who's number 2, would say dalawa, tatlo, which means 3. And then number 3 would go tatlo, isa, back to number 1. And that way, that gives you a chance to practice some of the different numbers and saying some of the sounds that you might not be as familiar with. So I hope that you have fun, and if you want to learn more about Tagalog, we do have my first book of Tagalog words, and we also have some language learning tools on our website, so you can kind of explore some of the resources with a grown-up, and you can also stop in and see us and ask about, well, how can I learn a little bit more about some of the other languages spoken around the world? But we do hope you'll stop in and see us. We hope that you've enjoyed traveling the world with us. We're so glad you've joined in. We hope that you take care and stay safe. All right, paalam. Bye, friends. Salamat. Thank you.